Welcome back to the Relentless Transitions podcast, everyone. I am Rosalind Keith up here in Canada, enjoying the beautiful fall weather we have, and I'm joined here with my co-host and accountability partner, Teresa Carthran, down in Georgia. How's it going, Teresa?
Well, it's going wonderful. As you can see from this sunshine in my window, that is beautiful outside, but it is definitely a crisp fall day. But that is just fine with me because this is my favorite time of year. So everything is good.
Yeah, I see you've got a sweater on there for the first time in our recording history.
Yes. Time to put on a sweater. You know
Yeah.
what? Actually, I love the fall so much, and I'm not usually cold, but I was outside the other day. I went to the grocery store and I had on this, light shirt like I usually do. And I'm sure that people were kind of looking at me like, So I thought I'd get with the program.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having more real fall weather than I am. Honestly, we're way above our normal temperatures, and it's sunny and warm. I have all the windows open, and it's the middle of November, almost the middle of November, which is pretty much unheard of. I usually hate November, thinking
Really?
it's usually raining and 5 to 10 degrees and really dreary. So November is my least favorite month of the year. And this year it's going really well, despite the doom and gloom outside. In reality, it's going really well. And that's something that, we here at Relentless Transitions podcast, we try and talk about regularly. We talk about life, we talk about business, and we talk about triumph. And today we thought we'd just, have a little chit chat about how we're going to try and triumph over all the crazy COVID inflation and budget challenging situations that we're heading into, especially, the rising cost of everything is mind-boggling, and we're heading into the holiday season where we tend to spend too much at the best of times. So we thought we'd just come on here and talk about how it's affecting us, and hopefully you can walk away with some ideas about how you can protect yourself a little bit from some of these rising costs as we go into the holiday season. What do you think, Teresa?
Yes, I'm excited to talk about it because it's definitely the buzz around here.
Yeah, everybody's talking about it. So, Teresa, let's start with you. What do you have to say? What do you do? Have you been doing differently, given the supply chain and rising costs? What are you doing differently in your life and your business, for that matter?
Okay. Well, you know what? First, I have to tell like a little funny story. I'll tell it really, really quickly. But I was in the store a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to prepare these fish tacos. Now, mind you, I've only prepared these fish tacos once before, but for some reason, I got this idea about these tacos. And so I was looking for a white fish. And I was in the store. I was looking for cod. They did not have cod. They had halibut. So I was like, okay, I'll use the halibut. And so I go to pick the halibut up and put it into my buggy. And I looked at the price and it was $80. Now, I don't know about you.
And was it made of gold?
And this is not one of those issues about could I afford the $80 halibut? Probably so, but just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So that is something that's always in the back of my mind. So I picked. But it was a fillet of halibut. So I started laughing at myself. That's why I say it's a funny story, because I felt like I started looking like my grandma, because I picked up the halibut package and I put my finger on the label and started reading it to get all the details, like where did this come from? How much is it? How much does it weigh? And so it was 3.125. And I'm like, what? 3.125 pounds. And it was wild caught halibut, but it was $80. And I'm thinking, what in the world? Like, I don't even know. So, needless to say, I did leave the store without that halibut. I'm let somebody else be blessed by that halibut. So, I mean, but it's definitely a concern because I'm thinking about our prices going to continue, to rise. So things there's I have a general rule right now in my household is what we can afford now, and we know that it is a staple in our home, something that we use all the time, then we are buying it, and we are buying, we have like a certain amount in our minds that we want to have, available that we think will carry us through, say, the next 4 to 6 months. And we're just going ahead and purchasing it, because one thing that I have found is that if you don't purchase it, when you go back to get it, it is either A, not there, or B, the price has gone up even more. So we found it beneficial for us, so we purchased a shelf, this simple shelving system, and nothing overly huge. And we put it in our basement, and we have kind of started stocking that with just things that we know that are common that we use in our household all the time. So that's one thing that we've done. Another thing is that we're shopping more in bulk, as opposed to just kind of, going and getting individual things. So we have a couple of places here where you can shop in bulk, and that seems to lend towards some cheaper pricing. Another thing that we did, one of the places is a membership. And so we actually got a business membership, which allows us to actually go to their business center where, businesses go and purchase the products. And so the prices actually are less there. Another thing is definitely looking out for coupons. I haven't really been a huge couponer, over my life. I've used them, but, just kind of here and there. But where I can utilize coupons, then, I do use those. We're eating more at home. Number one, I plan our meals so that we are not wasteful. And so that's definitely a change. Whereas previously I would just cook, it's hard. It's just my husband and I. So it's hard to cook for two people anyway, but you end up with leftovers. But if you have too many leftovers, you just end up throwing them away. Well, I am really being mindful of, how much we really are probably going to eat. And when I prepare the meal, I just try to prepare for that so that we don't have a lot of extra, so that we don't end up throwing away the food, which I hate throwing away food anyway. But that is definitely a big change. If we have leftovers, maybe we have leftovers maybe for one more meal, as opposed to maybe before I might prepare enough to last 3 or 4 days, and really by the fourth day nobody wants it and it ends up getting thrown away. So I'm definitely being more mindful about that. And we just we're not going out to eat as much. And when we do go out to eat, what we're finding is really that one entree is enough really for both of us. Whereas previously, and it probably always was, but
Yeah.
we didn't pay attention to that. But now, we might get an appetizer, which we always eat, and then we'll share an entree, which, since we're sharing it, typically we eat the whole thing, and we don't end up with that carry out, because most times we don't really warm up our carry outs. I don't know what everybody, we like the idea of bringing it home, but it just depends on what it is. But most times we don't eat it, and we end up throwing it out anyway. So that's one thing that we have started doing. Maybe not getting that drink at with the meal, just getting water. That's fine, because we have plenty to drink, at home. And I mean, and these are just little things, but I think it's important to, I'm very big on finances. So I think it's good to, preserve your money, because we really don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
We just have
Yeah.
no idea. And let's see what else. And the last thing is, I actually created at the beginning of the pandemic, I identified what I call my insider circle. And that is a group of ladies that pretty much I know that, I could depend on them if I really needed something, and they know that they can depend on me. And so it's a group of, it's 8 ladies, but I mean your circle can be any size. But I have a section I have actually created. I mean, I'm serious about this circle. Like, these are people that if something happened, at the beginning of the pandemic, people were losing jobs, and so finances were being impacted so greatly. I had no idea, what was going to happen either in my job or in my business. So in the circle, these ladies or these couples, they are people that if something happened and we had to leave our home, that we could probably go and stay with them. So we identified, what would happen. And between all of us, we actually came together and had a conversation. Once I identified them, then I had a conversation with them and we talked about the ground rules of the group. So we know that if something happened to someone's home or something, or someone had to move, okay, who would we go? Whose home would we go to? Who has the largest home? If all of us, if we had to literally, it's like if something happened and we all just needed to combine our incomes and stay and live well in one home, what will we do? Because listen, there does not have to be devastation in your life just because this is going on. So who if all of us had to live in one home, who has the largest home? And so we identified that. We identified like food items, like who has what, so we can call one another and say, hey, I need sugar, or I need, whatever. So we kind of formed like this insider circle. So now that these prices are going up, we have all kind of come together and we share. Like if we're at a store and we see something that's on sale, we come into our group. So I created like a text group within on my phone, and so we actually text into the group. We text recipes. So maybe there's a meal that you can prepare. There are a lot of things you can prepare that are like less than $10. So we share recipes with one another. We share sales with one another, just different things with one another, so that all of us kind of stay financially sound. So that's basically, those are the things that I have done.
Those are all great, Teresa. And while you were going through that, I have to say that I do a lot of the same stuff. And actually reminded me when my stepfather died, and we knew my mom couldn't stay in the house by herself, so we had to go in and start cleaning it out. And my mother and my stepfather grew up during the Depression. Boy, do those people know how to stock a pantry. And the unfortunate thing was that they overstocked it, and we ended up having to throw a ton of stuff out because it was way past its shelf life. So when you are buying in bulk, make sure you check the shelf life. Make sure that you're storing things properly, like even flour. You can get mealy bugs in them or so, so make sure you're storing things properly, and make sure you're checking the shelf life, so that you're not buying 20 jars of mayonnaise that are all going to expire in 2 months. Like, you're not going to go through 20 jars of mayonnaise, right?
Right.
So check those things. I have also started planning for leftovers. So I made a big stock pot full of pulled pork this weekend. Well, we have pulled pork in the freezer now for another quick and easy meal, right? I knew we were not going to eat that whole pork. I knew it, but I also knew that we can freeze it, which brings me to the idea of a freezer. I have purchased a small, like, below counter freezer. And I can't tell you how valuable that space is now. I don't just have to use the freezer above my refrigerator. So when butter goes on sale, and butter has, oh my God, the price of butter has gone through
Yes.
the roof. So I was in the local supermarket the other day, and it was on sale for like $2 off. Well, loaded up, 4 or 5 pounds of it
Yes.
into my cart because I know I have room in my freezer for it. So you know, if you can find a freezer, I mean, Lord knows the supply chain is not exactly reliable these days, but if you do come across a freezer, and I think my freezer, cost around 250 Canadian or something like that.
Hmm.
It wasn't an expensive freezer,
Right.
but it was worth every investment because I know now that if I see halibut on sale, frozen halibut on sale, I can
You better
buy
get it.
2 packages of it and put it in the freezer, right?
Mhm.
And so planning for leftovers. I'm not a huge leftover fan. I will admit it. I do not relish eating leftovers.
My husband either.
Yeah,
I can eat off something. I can cook something one day and eat off of it the entire week
yeah,
until it is gone. My husband is like, no, ma'am.
yeah. I'm with you, and I'm not good at that. But um, I have two males in my household who are constantly scrounging for ideas for lunch. They don't want sandwiches. They don't want, so they're eating up a lot of those leftovers. And I do, like last night, I didn't really feel like cooking a whole lot. Looked in the fridge. We had this leftover. We had that leftover. We had like a potluck, you
Yes.
for dinner. And I made some fresh rice, and we had fresh rice and a salad, and then just take what you want from the leftovers.
Yes, you know
So
what? And that is
plenty of
so
meal.
fun. I
Yeah.
actually did that. I had some family visiting, which we haven't had, much of it all since the pandemic started. And and one day, instead of having breakfast, I just kind of, planned for a lazy morning. We had coffee and whatnot, and we just had good conversation. And then, like around 11, I served brunch, and brunch was really kind of leftover this, and this, from what we had eaten all week. I actually pulled it out and then maybe cook some eggs to make it look breakfasty, but I utilized those. So yeah, just kind of repurposing
Yeah.
things. Another thing, and you mentioned the freezer, so we do have an additional freezer as well. Definitely, investing in like good freezer bags and
Yeah.
things like that, because you do want to store your food properly and not have it be freezer burned, or something like that, for the freezer when you return to that. And then, like, as far as everything in our pantry, now my husband, that's his job, and he sits because he thinks, I think he doesn't eat leftovers because he thinks he's gonna like be food poisoned some kind of way
Yeah.
by food being more than a day old. So he's looking at all the labels, and then even doing like a simple inventory list,
Yeah.
being organized with
Yeah.
if you're gonna get extra food. Like I said, we got that shelf. We have a pantry, but we got that extra. It's like, I think it's four, 3 or 4 shelves on there. If you're going to do something like that, maybe even creating like an inventory list, or being very organized, where say you have like condiments and something on one shelf and soups and vegetables on
That's
another
me.
shelf. So yeah, so that if you're looking for it, that here it is you're not kind of looking all over the place. Because if it's disorganized, that's going to prompt you to
Yeah.
buy,
Yeah.
or at least it does for us, because we get impatient and we say, oh, well, we don't have any, so we need to buy some more. So all of that ketchup and tartar sauce and mayonnaise and pickles and whatever. So we kind of have like designated spaces for things inside our pantry and on that shelf, so that we know, that we have it. And then there are just some things that I just buy every time I go to the store. I don't go to the store that often, but I always buy paper towel, toilet paper, and butter.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems to be the thing. And water. We did I have started looking at some like water filters, to because who knows? I mean, bottled water might get to be something ridiculous, So, do we need to get like a filter? And what I've been looking at is like some of these influencers on YouTube, and they have like a code where if you get a filter, you're gonna get 50% off or something like that. So I'm always looking for like a way that we can like be prepared but also save at the same time.
Yeah. So that made me think of one thing that, and I don't know if they have it in the States or not, but it's called Groupon. So
Yes.
if you're thinking you might want to buy an experience for somebody for Christmas, for example, um, or their birthday or whatever, go to Groupon and see if there's an experience there that you can get for like a spa day, or there are all kinds of opportunities there.
Mhm.
They're Groupons for restaurants, all kinds of things. So that's a way, if you're planning gifts for people, using those kind of sites can help you save a little bit of money. And we haven't mentioned much the supply chain issues, but I don't know, up here, that's all we're hearing all the time, is that it's going to be hard to get the gifts ready for your holiday season. Think ahead. And I have to say that honestly, I have way more holiday Christmas gifts purchased already this year than I think I've ever had in my life, because
Yes.
when I see it and I think, okay, it's a good price. It's something that I know so and so will like. I'm getting it now because I come back in a week and it's going to be gone, and it may not be restocked by Christmas. Even, I mean, you're in the publishing business, and I've even heard that getting books is going to be a challenge because there's a shortage of
Paper.
paper to print them on.
Hmm.
So, all of these things, we're talking mostly about our personal life here, but they're going to have knock-on effects in your business as well, right?
Oh
You
yeah. Oh
might need
yeah.
to be raising your prices so that you can afford to eat.
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're going to have another podcast, another episode where we're going to be talking about some ways that you can, share great gifts, great sentiments and experiences, on a budget, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I don't I for the longest time that word budget was like a dirty word,
Yeah.
to me, because a budget just basically meant what I couldn't have. But really, what I've learned is that having some sort of budget actually puts you more in control, and it actually determines when you're going to have, not that you cannot have.
Yeah.
So that's really important. But we just wanted to come on real quickly, today, and just share with everyone, like, how we're feeling about this crunch, or these price increases and shortage of supplies, and what we're doing about it, and just kind of some tips. So I hope that these things have proven to be very helpful. Maybe we have suggested something to you, or something that we're doing that you're not. And hey, you might even have some things that you're doing that we didn't mention today. So we would love it if you would visit our YouTube channel, our digital home, Relentless Transitions, and leave us a comment about, what are some things that you are actually doing? What are some experiences that you're having out there? Because, it impacts us all. But my takeaway for today really is just to be prepared. Don't be fearful. One way to actually combat fear during a time like this is to be prepared, and don't compare yourself to other people to the way that they are prepared. Prepare the best that you can for your family. Think about your family unit, your immediate circle, and be as prepared as you can, and that will help to alleviate fear. Yeah, and just allow you to have like some peace
Yeah.
during this time. So that's all that we have for you today. Anything that you have to add, Miss Rosalind?
No, I think you said it beautifully, Teresa. Really, it's not about denying yourself. It's about planning for what, so that you can avoid denying yourself, right? That's what it's
Absolutely.
about.
And
Yeah.
there's one thing just to add on to that very quickly is that sometimes when change is occurring, or when we make, changes that appear like we are depriving ourselves or we're cutting back or whatever the case may be, we feel like that's a forever thing. But no, it's not a forever. It is for right now. And we just want to, go through every change, the absolute best. And as we said, just what this podcast is all about, triumph in all situations. So we don't want to live fearful or broken or, in doubt. And I'll throw out my last little tip for what we have done. Look, things are coming at what we have done. And I'm going to tell you this one thing actually gave me peace of mind. So I bought rice and beans. Now, I bought rice and beans. and so I was going to this bulk store and, and I was just walking through the aisles really just to see, I had gotten all of the things that I just immediately thought of. And so I was just kind of walking through the aisles to see if there were other things that they had that, perhaps, would be good for us. And I was on this aisle with rice and beans. And they had, I saw the beans, they were 50-pound bags. And I was going, Lord, who in the world is buying 50-pound bags of rice and beans? I'm like, that would be enough for us for life, right? And so I didn't pay them any attention. Well, then the next time I was in there, they had a sign over the rice and the beans that said you could only get one bag. Well, I'm thinking, who is buying more than one bag of these 50-pound rice and beans? And then as I was driving down the street, it hit me. Like certain cultures eat a lot of rice and beans. And I was like, oh my God. Well, you know what? I thought about those rice and beans every day until I got back to that store and bought my 50-pound bag of rice and beans. Now, it cost me $32 and something cents, but that purchase let me know that no matter what, we will always have food. So it just gave me peace because you can make a bunch of things with rice and beans. I mean, you can fix them so many different ways. And I mean, and even if it came down to it, like if it was coming to an end, there was nothing. Because you can cook a cup of rice and that turns into a pot, right? Or 2 cups, it turns into a pot. So I'm like, I know that we will have food and we won't be standing in any food line. It costs less than $50. So rice, beans, and some butter, and some olive oil, you can do some things. We can Google some recipes. I know you think I'm crazy, Rosa.
Well, I mean, no, but what I actually was thinking was, well, what I may do in a situation like that is call up my brother or something and say, hey, listen, I've just purchased this much and it costs only this much. Do you guys want 10 pounds of it? Or, something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, look, no.
Share the wealth.
No, look, what I told my insider circle was that if everything returned to normal before Christmas, that they know what they're going to be getting for Christmas gifts. I was gonna, and I'm very crafty, so I told them I was going to get mason jars, and it was going to be all decorative, and it was going to be full
add some recipe cards to it. Perfect Christmas gifts, but that's another show.
So anyway, just I hope that we were able to make you smile. But in reality, I mean, that is reality. That there were people, at the height of the pandemic who were out in food lines, and I promise, I was like, all they need is some rice and beans. I mean, you can really have a hearty meal, with that. So. Anyway, that's my 5 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents. But hopefully this has all been helpful. Thank you so much for being with us for another episode of the Relentless Transitions podcast. And we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening, everyone.